Welcome to the Infamous Todd Show. It might be snowing a little bit too much outside today for me to be trying to haul my equipment outside because I don't have the slightest idea and I don't want to trash my brand new camera. But in the meantime, I want you to know today's episode is called Santa versus Jesus. Now don't get alarmed and start writing blasphemous and I'm going to hell and stuff on my comment section below on YouTube or wherever you're watching this because you haven't even watched it yet. I think that you'll enjoy the show if you'll just bear with me for one moment. I want to tell you something. My birthday is on October 25th. I've spent my whole childhood celebrating my birthday as Halloween. My mom would pick Halloween as the theme of the party. I don't think anybody coming to my party knew that it wasn't my birthday party. I participate in Christmas for the same belief that Christmas is Jesus' birthday. But the theme for Christmas is all the decorations that come with Jesus and the sleigh and the Christmas tree and all the other decorations that go up inside my house. Because I believe that you can do both. Your heart is big enough for both. Your brain is big enough for both. Your imagination is large enough for both. And all the festivities of Christmas that a lot of people are fighting against were placed there by Christians. You know, all the holiday traditions used to be celebrated on December 6th. The Christians moved it from December 6th to December 25th. No pagans, no atheists. The Christians did it. So I believe that all of this works together. And hopefully this show will make you smile and think a little bit. And along the way, I hope that you'll laugh. I need to start this video off with 3 disclaimers. Many people that are not Christians celebrate Christmas. It's not a holiday that belongs only to the Christians. I would think that most of the Christians would find that satisfying, that there's like some middle ground one day of the year that we're not battling and fighting, and if the common denominator is the Santa figure that Christians created that brings us all together for a moment to be quiet, to enjoy the holiday, to spread cheer. I think that's awesome. That's incredible. Isn't that what the holiday season's all about? Being happier, spreading cheer. I'm one of the 2.4 billion followers of Christianity around the world. But let me tell you something. Very few Christians believe in the same thing. We all look at the Bible differently. We all look at the verses differently. Pretty much every single part of the Bible we look at differently. And most of us don't even agree on the same Bible. Inside of our own places of worship, each of us are individually different from one another. I believe that you can enjoy Santa and the traditional parts of the Christian beliefs of Christmas at the same time. I personally hate the commercialization of Christmas. Did you know that 69% of those that were interviewed stated that they wish that Christmas didn't include all the gift giving? 69% of the people also agreed in the commercialization of Christmas. I say that if this is true, let's all get together and have a guilt-free pledge that next year none of us are going to give gifts. This entire show is to make you think, smile, and perhaps contemplate 10 other viewpoints in regards to Jesus versus Santa. It is not about South Park. St. Nicholas was the skinny 4th century Greek Christian bishop in a place that we now call Greece. He wasn't from the North Pole. He wasn't from here in Minnesota. He didn't come from the Netherlands. He was originally the patron saint of sailors, and his holiday was on December 6th. And he was known for giving gifts to impoverished children. Many Christians, including Martin Luther, believe that all people that die are saints. So who ranks higher? Jesus sits at the right hand of God. So therefore, I think round 1 goes to Jesus. Round 2, the crib. Who had the better house? Jesus was a couch surfer, a sand wanderer. In today's American culture, most Christians would have called him a vagrant. And the last thing they would have ever done in America is let him and his 12 apostles over the border. There is no discussion of Jesus ever having a home. On the other hand, Santa had the hookup. Not only did he have a wife at home cooking, making dinner and baking pies and platters of cookies, but also he had a comfy bed, a couch to cuddle with Mrs. Claus and a staff of dotting elves and ample supply of hot chocolate. If this is not enough, children all over the world leave out cookies and milk for him once a year. No wonder he has elevated cholesterol and perspiration problems. So once again, round 2 will go to Santa Claus. Now, at this point, some of you are starting to get mad at me because you're saying, well, Jesus was a simple man. He went to the Middle East preaching the word. And again, I'm going to say to you, I agree with you. I like Matthew 19:24. And again, I say unto you, it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of God. I'm just one of those jaded Christians that doesn't understand why some of the leaders of the church live in palaces. The average Santa only makes $40,000 a year, which includes their regular income. 3. Social donations. Santa Claus rocks when it comes to money. The average American will spend $70,000 during the course of their life on Christmas stuff. This includes the gifts, the parties, decorations, and most of that money doesn't trickle much out of a small circle. Within a month or two, most of us have already spent the money, and where it was spent, they've spent the money. So it really doesn't get around much past that 30-day circle. Now, take the small portion we give Jesus or the church. Most of us tip a waiter a higher percentage of our money for 45 seconds worth of attention. But yet, we give a tiny amount to Jesus during the course of the week, and we expect him to be on hand servicing our needs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You think I'm going to give this to Santa, but you're wrong, because this category is called social donations. Religious groups still receive the bulk of all donations. 31% of all the donations, which is $127 billion in America alone, still goes to religious organizations. Money donated to religious organizations, compared to Santa, trickle down long term because they help starving children around the world. They help create hospitals, schools in developing countries, and hundreds and thousands of charities in every nation on earth. Money given for the sake of Santa will be sitting dead in some toy box within months. Round 3, which is social donations, goes to Jesus. Now, I admit, Santa owns the malls. Looking pretty much just as Coca-Cola designed him so many years ago. Think about it. If every Santa is just one Santa everywhere, that would, and he worked 10 hours a day minus 2 breaks, that would be 400,000 hours, $400,000, say the minimum wage is $725. That means during each Christmas season, he makes $2.9 million for a paycheck. If he can negotiate $10,000 for photography rights, that would bring him up to $10 million a year. I don't think Jesus even made a paycheck. He needs a better agent. Now, round 4 is transportation. No contest here. Jesus, on his best day, had him sitting on a donkey, riding through town over leaves on a tree and roads. Most of his travels were by foot. Look at Santa. He doesn't survive more than 30 steps without having to sit down, exhausted, trying to catch his breath. Now, Santa's ride in that rustic sleigh is awesome. Absolutely awesome. Think about it. He's on the outside, it's rustic, but on the inside, he has a state-of-the-art GPS navigator that obviously the elves had pre-programmed on which house to go to so he doesn't accidentally go to the bad kids' houses. And he has a naughty or nice sensor, communication panel, and he's able to fly 650 miles per second, which is 3,000 times the speed of sound. So round 4 has to go to Santa Claus. Round 5, food. When you think of Jesus and food during the first period of history, you cringe. Not many American restaurants are cranking out dishes that were created during this period of time, in the style that it was created at that time. Now Santa, on the other hand, you can tell by looking at him, this man knows food. Santa wins this one. I don't know many Christians that are sitting around on the holiday of Christmas without a nice meal. Do me a favor. If you want to feel the spirit of Christmas, reach out this year and find those people, those that are lost to the world. Make it even more important by reaching out without Christmas being your excuse. You know the part of the song that goes, here comes Santa Claus, right down Santa Claus Lane? You know that song? Then it gets to the part about he doesn't care if you're rich or poor, he loves you just the same. Is a lie. Is a lie. I've been to rich kids' houses. They're not getting the same stuff as I was getting. They're getting expensive gifts. Me, I looked up inside my Christmas stocking. Well, you know what was in there? Underwear. Socks. They're not getting the same stuff. He lied to you. He lied to me. Round 6 is miracles. Now, when St. Nick was growing up, well, I guess he wouldn't have been St. Nick at that time. He'd just been Nicholas. He found a lady with a lame hand, and he went up and he held her hand, and he prayed to God, and her lame hand began working again. That's the first recorded miracle of Santa Claus. Later on, Nicholas's parents had passed away, and he took their money and he used it for good deeds. And one of those good deeds is he would drop money inside this window of this man who had to sell his daughters as prostitutes to buy their way out of prostitution. He had calmed the seas. He saved 3 innocent soldiers of wrongful execution and chopped down a tree that was possessed by demons. Me, on the other hand, to me a miracle is fitting in my jeans. There are 10,000 recognized saints. I am not one of them. I will never have a holiday named after me. Though, once when I was leaving a restaurant for another job, the employee started playing outside, Ding Dong, the Witch is Dead. The Wicked Witch. You know that song. I think they were being funny. I think. As you can tell by the partial list that I'm going to post over the cookies, Jesus had the miracle thing down packed. So round 6 belongs to Jesus. Now round 7. Round 7 is work week and quality of life. I feel that that's probably something important in your job too. It must be hard to be Jesus. Think about it. You are constantly belittled, ignored, abused, questioned, mocked. People are always screaming at you. You work all day and night with no pay, seldom any appreciation, and constantly having to explain yourself. And God forbid somebody asks you for a favor and you say no. Or maybe just not right now. Santa, on the other hand, is basking at the pool in summer, having delicious food all the time, few people mad at him, girls rushing him for selfies, a poster model for A Bear's Life, perhaps children chasing him down to thank him for the latest video game edition and ideas for next year. I'm thinking Santa's meal last night was probably a buffet, or some delicious, carefully planned dinner made just for him. Jesus, on the other hand, had the Last Supper, and I don't think that turned out well for him. So, round 7 goes to Santa. Round 8 is clothing. Let's admit it, Santa does drag. Let's get it out in the open. This man craves attention. You won't see a drag king pretending to be Jesus, but everybody wants to be Santa Claus. He is Cher, Madonna, Reba, and Lucille Ball all wrapped in one. Can you see Santa stripping? I can. Can you picture Santa doing a comedy routine? I can. What about lip syncing? Dancing across the stage? You bet. My pastor always starts the sermon off by telling a joke. Now, Nowhere in my mind can I picture Jesus starting off a joke by saying, "A rabbi, a prophet, and an archangel walked into a bar." Jesus is pretty low-key. Place Jesus in a room in Canada with other people from the Middle East, and you'd hardly notice him. Well, it would have to be Canada. Couldn't be in the United States because his application to the United States would have been denied. Now place Santa in any room and in any country at any time of the year, and he's going to be noticed. See what I mean? Santa is the definition of holiday drag. In fact, I'm going to let you decide who's going to win this round inside the comments below. Round 9, sharing attention. Let's figure this out without adding animals to the list. I believe that Morgan and Jaeger help my Michael and me every day by sharing their love with us. They motivate us. They motivate me each day to get out of bed instead of laying in bed and thinking about how sick I am to create stuff like this. I need them in my life. Think about all the people Jesus wanted you to know in the New Testament. Needless to say, the 12 disciples. I only knew 5 of the 13 disciples off the top of my head. While Santa, the drag star, hogs the limelight. Quickly, name 12 of the elves. How about 8? How about 5? Can you name 5 people that are around him? Ah, you probably thought of Mrs. Claus. What's her first name? Yeah, that's what I meant. See, you don't even know his wife's first name. That's how much credit he shares. Okay, you hot toddies, and I know a whole bunch of you, when I asked for a bunch of names of people around Santa, started quickly rattling off the reindeer's names. Now, you probably didn't rattle them off. You probably sang them. You probably sang their names, kind of like how I do my alphabets. Say your alphabets, and somehow or another I end up singing part of it. That's how I do with Santa's. That's the only way I'm going to ever know. That's kind of sad. I probably know more of his reindeer than I know of the apostles of Jesus. Oops. This round definitely goes to Jesus. So finally, we're at round 10. Who's the most popular? A survey was done to ask people if they celebrated Christmas. Did you know that 93% of all Americans celebrate Christmas with Santa Claus? 81% of the Christians celebrate Christmas with Santa Claus. Now, you would think that Santa would take this round because more people celebrate Christmas with Santa Claus than with Jesus. But the average person is over Santa by the time we hit New Year's Eve. If you watch my previous show, When Does Christmas Begin?, then you'll understand many people around you get really mad if you start celebrating Santa Claus before December. They freak out on you. They get really mad. So this means more popular would be Jesus. The Christians celebrate him all year long. Even the people who believe it in Santa or celebrate Santa, they have him tucked up in the attic and tossed in the garage. He's out of there by New Year's Eve. I know this might sound like a religious show, but it's supposed to be just a funny show. It's a once-in-a-year gig. Jesus, on the other hand, is an all-year, every month, every week kind of guy. When people are happy, they don't pray to Santa Claus. When they're scared and feeling alone, they don't reach out to Santa Claus. Though some Christians may leave the church, many of them are still spiritual and faithful to the idea of Jesus. It's usually the church they're leaving. And the winner is Jesus, because even Santa believes in Jesus. Though, when I was a child, to make me believe in Jesus, my mother used to say, if you don't believe, you don't receive. On the other hand, and not to be confused, was my grandpa who would scream, if you don't shut up in there, I'm going to grab my shotgun and I'm going to blow off Santa's head. Merry Christmas. Subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. Please. Welcome to the Infamous Todd Show.